to actually sort of get into. I wanted to give you an overall perspective to start with before I come to research and innovation, because you have to have the big picture before we come to sort of detailed role of research, technology, and innovation. Now, if you look at the our technological sort of capacity, that's where I talk about talent, technology, and trust. Okay, we have all the talent in the world. We have access to now technologies. I think what we must have is a trust. We have to believe in ourselves and have a trust. Since we are talking about testing, and Dr. Naresh Shastri talked about the wonderful work that your lab is doing, CSR is doing on testing, etc. We require diagnostic kits for that. So let me give you an example. Alok mentioned about this Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, which I give in my mother's name. One of the award winners was Nitin Kabra. Nitin Khanna from J.R.D. And what did he do? He had a dengue kit. Because normally, I hope none of you have got dengue, but if you get that, you would have found that it takes 1 or 2 days before you detect. Now, he created a kit, which actually could detect in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And also at what stage it is. So it should be a winner. But nobody would take it. We would be buying it from South Korea, from Australia, from United States of America. Nobody wanted to give him a chance. And then one day what happened was that we had a pandemic. And in that pandemic, all the kits were exhausted. And therefore we had to order. Now US said it will take a couple of months, our processes. Australia said same thing. South Korea said we'll give it. And then South Korea actually, sent it by ship. And that ship, rather than coming to India, went to Africa by mistake. So India was left with no kits. So what do? Then they went to Navin Khanna. And Navin Khanna started from there. And then from 0% market share, he has 78% market share today. Now, if you can imagine, supposing that ship had come to India, Navin Khanna's kits will still not be in the market. That's what I mean by talent, technology, and trust. We had the technology, which was better than the best of the world, and yet we did not have a trust in it. So the analogy that I have is like R.K. Lakshman's cartoon, where there is an eye patient, and he's looking into his eyes and testing, and he says, "Oh, there is a particle. Shall I take it out?" And I'm asking you because it's a foreign particle. You get the point. So I think the point is that we should not be sort of lured by these foreign components. We have to have our own. We have the capacity to do that. And I'm giving the example of kit because that is current. That's what we are basically looking at. And you have seen, the way we have sort of moved into this space. So that's what I mean by trust. Now, many times we are ahead of the rest of the world, and still it is not taken up. I'll give you an idea of something that happened in 2001. There was a technology that was created. It was called computer, and it had technologies which were ahead of the world. Like, for example, features in iPhone that came later, or Samsung Galaxy came later, they were actually involved there. And in fact, Bruce Sterling in New York Times, he wrote, and I will read out to you. He said most significant innovations in computer technology of 2001 were not Apple's gleaming PowerBook G4 or Microsoft Windows XP, but it's a computer, a net-linked, radically simple, portable computer. intended to bring complete revolution to the third world. What happened? Did we bring that revolution? No. Because although computer had features which were incredible, like for example, it had anticipated those breakthrough technologies which are commonplace in mobiles today, like an accelerometer, introduced years later in iPhone, or dongle on mail, ability to write on phone. You know, these were the major features of Samsung Galaxy, which came much later. So we are ahead of the rest of the world. And still we did not make it. That is where I mean talent, technology, and trust. So how does it work then? So when you have breakthroughs like that, what is normally done is that government becomes the first buyer. Government becomes the first buyer. So let us say there was an order that was placed for, let us say, 10,000 of computers. Then they were used in practice. You would have got the market feedback, improved the product, and today we could have been world-beating product. Now, how important such innovations are, because computer was supposed to be sort of, permit truly simple and natural user interface based on sight, touch, etc. And it was able to read and speak in 7 Indian languages. It was just made for India and very, very affordable. That's exactly what we need in 2001, I'm telling you. Now, how critical this is today, I'll tell you. For example, the number of changes that have happened after COVID, as you must have seen, home has become not only home as a working place, because we are working from home, but also school. As I speak, 160 crore children today in the world are learning from home, isn't it? And all of you are having these iPads and mobiles, etc., etc. But what about the poor? What about those in villages who have no connectivity, who cannot afford iPad, who cannot afford a smartphone? What about them? So you will find that we had in computer the possibility of having something which is very low cost, available for maybe $20, $30. All right, not $300. And I remember when we had, and Alok will remember it, we had this New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. And if you remember, I gave a grand challenge in year 2000. I said, laptop is available for $2,000. Can you do it in $200? And it was done by Vinay Deshpande. Okay, he did it in $200. Unfortunately, that later support did not come through a public procurement policy. And therefore, what happened? Well, you don't hear about it today. But if it was $200 then, today it would be sort $30, $40. Or we had this Akash, for example, which was $35. I'm talking about 10 years ago. It could have been nothing. And this could have been in the hand of the children. So what we require is not just technology, but a policy backup. And therefore, the public procurement system has to be geared to that. And if you go on the web and look at ram@mashelkar.com, that is my email ID, but www.mashelkar.com, I repeat, www.mashelkar.com, you will find my public procurement policy report, because Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, did a wonderful job of putting together 17, let us say, different initiatives which he said will change the world, change India. And one of them is a chapter that written by me on how to deal with these sort of public procurement issues of the startups, basically, and to give them sort of a fair deal so that they have, they can run sort of faster. So what is the simple point I'm trying to make? The future lies in your hand. You are completely capable of creating technologies which are, ahead of the rest of the world, not copying. I always said, I in India must stand for innovation, not inhibition, not imitation. All right? You don't have to imitate. You don't have to copy. You will create something ahead of the rest of the world. But if it is backed up by sort of public policy, and I'm very happy that the government is trying to do a lot in that, then we can win the world. We don't have to be sort of afraid at all. I'm also finding that after COVID, the way scientific community has risen is absolutely fantastic. Whether it was Department of Science and Technology, whether it was Department of Biotechnology, whether it was our own CSIR, whether it was private sector, it is phenomenal. Now just see what we were when 30 January the first case appeared in India. We had limited diagnostic capability. We had no point of care diagnosis. We had no vaccines. We had no therapeutics. The biology was completely unknown, of this highly infectious virus. And from there, I mean, if you just see, I'll take just only example of CSI. I'm not biased, although as a, I'm part of CSI family, but I'm just taking that example because I'm more familiar with it. And you can see how quickly Dr. Shekhar Mande, our wonderful Director General, followed by a great team, some of you are there, created these 5 verticals, digital plus molecular surveillance, rapid economic diagnosis, new drugs, repurposing of drugs, hospital assistive devices, supply chain management, etc. And many of what we have been able to do, many of the things are ahead of the rest of the world. Like the CRISPR-Cas9 based technology that Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology has done. It has higher specificity than anything else, and cost is just 500 rupees, not 5,000 rupees. Paper strip, and the partnership with Tata Sons, actually it is sort of moving it forward. So it is entirely possible to basically do that. Let me for a minute come back to my make, buy to make better, but there is also make to buy better. What does make to buy better mean? The fourth option. That means